Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video, I'm going to be talking about why I went from being vegan for a little while back to eating meat. I'm also going to talk about why I decided to try out veganism in the beginning. I've been getting a lot of questions about the vegan diet, and if you've been following me long enough on my main channel, you'll know that I did try out being a vegan, and I've been getting a lot of questions about why I eat meat now. So I want to share my personal experience with it. And sorry, it's a little bit loud. There is a fire in the background, so don't mind that. But I'm gonna just jump right in. So I started to try out, I started eating vegan almost 2 years ago exactly, right after the birth of my second son. And what happened was, after I had him, it was around that time where I really started trying to clean up my diet a lot and eat a lot healthier, because I had a lot of health issues like eczema and all of that. I also had pretty bad postpartum depression. It was just a bunch of things, and I said, you know what, now it's time to, I started actively working out then, and I just really want to start eating cleaner. So I got the book Oh She Glows. If you're a vegan, you'll know this book for sure. And it was an amazing book. So I bought this recipe book, and everything I made in this recipe book was so delicious. And I loved the idea of not having to buy meat. Meat is really expensive. So I love not having to buy it, not having to think like, what am I gonna make today, and revolve my meal around the protein, the meat. So everything I made in this book just tasted really good, and it was so easy to meal prep. Like, I would make meals like no problem. They would whip up so easily because everything's like rice and things like that. So I really enjoyed it. And so I was vegan for, I went full on. Like, I started and I just went right into it. Now, I wasn't like, I still did take supplements. I was taking a cod liver oil supplement, but everything, that was the only thing that came from an animal that I really ate. Everything else was vegan. And what happened was, it was going great for a while, and I really enjoyed the food. And I did it for about, I'm gonna say 5 months, and then all of a sudden I started feeling really weak and dizzy. I started breaking out, like my rashes started getting a lot worse, and I started getting IBS cramps a lot again. So I had irritable bowel syndrome. It kind of stopped for a little while, and then it flared up really bad after I was like doing the vegan diet for a while, and then I wasn't sure if it was because of the vegan diet or something else. So I sat down and started really thinking, and I was like, you know what, I'm really weak and I'm really dizzy. Maybe I should just include some meat, maybe just once, a day in a meal or something. So I kind of started going back. Also, not to mention, my kids liked their meat and my husband likes his meat. So I was kind of like, felt bad that I was making everybody go vegan. So I kind of just started bringing some meat back in, and I started feeling better in terms of energy. And then I started thinking, well, if my, fire's like flying out. If my rashes were flaring up and my irritable bowel syndrome was flaring up, it must be leaky gut is getting worse. And I'm not gonna get into details, but I did have a ton of antibiotics through my pregnancies and stuff, so I had really bad leaky gut. So what happened is, like, for me, what I found was that the vegan diet, and I know like you could eat low carb if you're vegan, I know there's options, but I was kind of following like that book and using all the recipes from that book because that's all I knew. So I was eating a ton of rice, lots of like gluten. I was eating lots of wraps and things. And I was eating a lot of beans, a ton of beans, and a ton of nightshades. So I'm Middle Eastern, and a lot of Middle Easterns have an issue with nightshades. Their body just can't break down the leptins, I think it's called, or lectins. I don't even remember anymore. So I had an issue with nightshades, and I always had an issue like my whole life growing up. So eating vegan, I had a lot of tomatoes and peppers and things like that. So I started really thinking, I was like, I think it's the diet that's making my rashes get worse. I think it's eating all the grains. Like, for me, because I had such bad leaky gut, grains were really not a good idea to be eating, especially gluten. Another thing that was happening was I was gaining a lot of weight. So for me personally, I always found that if I eat low carb, higher fat, higher protein, lots of veggies, I lose weight. Like, pounds are coming off every day, no problem. But then as soon as I start eating higher carb, I noticed that I start gaining weight. So that was another, like, I was kind of like, why am I gaining weight? Like, this is frustrating, because I was working out aggressively and I was still gaining weight. So all of this together, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna start transitioning into more paleo, like no grain and more meat. Now, before I continue, I do want to say that I have no problem with vegan, and I believe that like every everybody's body is different, and vegan might actually work for some people, and especially if you have like acidosis, if your body's too acidic, getting off the meat is probably a good idea. So vegan would probably work really well for you. So I'm not saying I have any issues with that at all, but for me personally, it didn't work. So I started transitioning back into eating meat and started eating more animal proteins and animal fats, and I started getting rid of grains, and that's when I really started seeing like a positive change in terms of my IBS. Especially my IBS kind of stopped all of a sudden, and I was really grateful for that. I started eating a lot of gelatin once I was not vegan anymore, so I was eating a lot more meat, proteins, a lot of bone broth, so that kind of helped heal my gut, and that kind of really helped me get away from the IBS and all of that. So that's kind of why I ended up transitioning back into meat. Now having psoriasis, as bad as I do, if you watch my other videos, you'll know why it's flared up and why I have it. I do eat animal proteins, but I do not eat pork. I never ever liked pork at all to begin with, but especially now that I have psoriasis, pork is extremely acidic, so I don't eat pork, and I try to stay away from red meat as well. Not that I'm saying it's bad. If I do eat it, I usually eat lamb because I really like lamb, and I just kind of stay away from the rest of the red meats just because it's acidic, and I'll stick to more like chicken or turkey. I really like eggs, so I eat a lot of eggs, or you can eat fish. So that's kind of what I started doing. Anyways, long story short, my psoriasis is now healing. I find that for me, if I eat grains, it flares up. So for me, vegan didn't work just because you're eating so many grains and carbs. So that's kind of why I decided to transition. My energy started coming back. It kind of was it was trial and error for me because I was like, I need to eat healthy. So I kind of started eating vegan because I got this book, and every recipe in that book was so good. But it also was, for me, carbs have a lot of sugar, and I feel like it fed my candida a lot because I was constantly eating like beans and rices and, you know, gluten and sweeteners and lots of like, yeah, sweeteners and and dates and stuff in the desserts. So I think it fed my candida, which kind of made everything else worse. So now that I transitioned away from that about a year and a half ago, I found that like it really did help. So that was kind of my reason. So I hope that answered your questions. And I started vegan in the beginning because I just wanted to start being healthier, and I thought that might be the way to go, especially because every recipe in that book tasted so good. But yeah, and then I was like, you know what, this might not be working for me. And now I find that, like I said, eating lower carb, mostly grain-free if possible, really works for me. So that's kind of my story. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. So if you did enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe down below if you are new to my channel, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.